There were things I had never told my children, and I carried them for years longer than I should have. 3 months ago, I sat my children down and told them 6 things I had never said out loud in 84 years of being their father. Most people assume the hardest conversations happen in moments of crisis. Mine happened on an ordinary Tuesday evening at my own kitchen table, for no reason except that I had finally grown tired of carrying things alone that were never mine to carry alone in the first place. My name is Harold. I am 84 years old. My heart is running at 38%. And today I want to share 6 things I had been hiding from David, Claire, and Thomas for years, sometimes decades, and what happened the evening I finally said them. Before we continue, if there is something you have been hiding from someone you love, even something small, please like this video, because I promise you are not alone in carrying it. Let's begin with the first thing. I told them I almost did not become an engineer. For 60 years, my children believed the career that defined our entire family's life had been an obvious, confident choice. The truth is that at 22, I nearly walked away from it entirely, terrified I was not capable enough. And a single conversation with my own father, who simply said, "Try one more semester," was the only reason I did not quit. David told me afterward that learning this changed how he saw his own uncertainties. He had assumed I had never doubted myself the way he sometimes doubted himself. Knowing I had, and survived it, gave him something he said he badly needed. Here is the second thing. I told them about the year I almost left their mother. Early in our marriage, year 12, I seriously considered leaving, not because Margaret had done anything wrong, because I was frightened of the responsibility of the life we were building, and running felt, for a few months, like a real option I was quietly weighing. I never told my children this for 50 years. When I finally did, Claire cried, not from hurt, but from relief. She said it helped her understand that the steadiness she had always seen in our marriage was something we had built deliberately, not something that had simply always been there without effort. I want to add one more piece to this because the conversation itself deserves more detail than I initially gave it. When I told my children about that year, year 12 of the marriage, Thomas asked me what had specifically pulled me back from the edge of it. I told him honestly that there was no dramatic turning point, no single conversation that fixed everything. It was smaller than that. It was watching Margaret one evening, doing something entirely ordinary, hanging laundry in the backyard while humming something I did not recognize. Completely unaware I was watching her from the kitchen window. I remember standing there thinking that whatever fear I was carrying about the responsibility of this life we were building, it did not change the fact that I genuinely did not want to lose the woman currently hanging laundry and humming in our backyard. The fear and the love were both true at the same time. I just had not yet learned that 2 true things could exist together without one having to win. Claire told me, hearing this story for the first time at 84 years old, that it helped explain something about her own marriage she had been quietly struggling with. She said she had always assumed fear meant something was fundamentally wrong, rather than simply being one part of a larger, more complicated truth that could still include real love. If you are still here, please subscribe, because the next few things may matter even more than these first 2. Here is the third thing. I told them how frightened I was the morning of my father's funeral. I had always presented that day to my children as something I had handled with composure. The truth is, I sat in my car for 20 minutes beforehand, unable to make myself walk inside, terrified in a way I had never told anyone about. Thomas told me that hearing this made him feel less alone in his own fear before difficult moments. He had always assumed strength meant the absence of fear. I told him it had never meant that. It had only ever meant walking in anyway. Here is the fourth thing. I told them the real reason I went back to work 6 weeks after the parking garage. For years, my children believed I returned to work quickly out of dedication and discipline. The truth is, I was terrified of who I would be without it, and going back early was less about commitment and more about running from a silence I did not know how to sit inside. David said this explained something about me he had never been able to name before. He said he finally understood why retirement had been so difficult for me, years later, in ways that had nothing to do with money. If you have made it this far, please subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next 2 are the ones I regret hiding the most. Here is the fifth thing. I told them how much I struggled after their mother passed. I had presented myself to my children in those early months as managing reasonably well. The truth is, there were entire weeks I barely remember. Days I did not eat properly. Mornings I sat in the kitchen unable to make myself stand up. When I finally told Claire this, she asked me why I had let her believe I was managing well when I clearly was not. I told her the honest answer, which was that admitting I was struggling felt, at the time, like a second loss on top of the first. I had already lost Margaret. I was not willing to also lose the version of myself my children had always known, the steady one, the one who handled things. She sat with that for a long moment. Then she told me something that has stayed with me since. She said watching me perform steadiness during that period had actually made her own grief harder to process, because she felt she had to match the calm I was projecting, rather than feel whatever she actually needed to feel. I had not considered that my hiding might have shaped her experience of losing her mother, not just my experience of losing my wife. Here is the sixth and final thing. I told them I am still afraid, even now, of dying without having said everything that actually mattered. This is the one I had hidden the longest. For years I presented a kind of calm acceptance about my heart, about my age, about whatever time remains. The truth is, some nights the fear is significant, and I had been managing it alone rather than letting my children carry any part of it with me. Thomas held my hand when I said this. He did not try to fix it or reassure me out of it. He simply sat with me in it, which I am learning, very late, is sometimes the only thing any of us actually need from each other. After I said this, David asked me a simple question. He asked what I still had not said. I sat with that for a while. Then I told him there were still things, smaller ones, that I had not yet found the right moment for. A specific memory about his mother I had never shared. A piece of advice from my own father I had never passed along. Small things, individually. But the fear was never really about the big 6 items on this list. It was about all the smaller, ongoing things that quietly accumulate when a person spends a lifetime managing what gets said and what does not. He told me I did not need to wait for the right moment anymore. I could just say things now, as they came to me, without staging them as significant confessions. I have been trying to do that since, not perfectly, but more than I used to. So here is what I actually believe, after 84 years of mostly learning this far too late. Hiding our struggles from the people we love does not protect them. It simply teaches them that struggling is something to be hidden, a lesson they will likely pass on to their own children, the way patterns travel quietly through families across generations. Now tell me in the comments, is there something you have been hiding from someone you love that you might finally be ready to say out loud? I read every single comment and I would really like to know. I am Harold, and there is more to say. I will say it.